The Lakers are overwhelmed in the second half of Game 3, and things are looking bleak. We'll break it down next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for stopping by Locked On Lakers. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky, plenty to break down about the breakdown in Game 3 for the Lakers. Want to let people know first that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. So, well, Andy, at least they didn't lose by 18. You can say that they broke that streak. Lakers fall to down 3-0 against Oklahoma City. 131-108, the final score of this one. Very similar pattern to games 1 and 2, where the Lakers perform admirably in the first half and are overwhelmed at some point in the second. I guess the only difference in this one and the other ones is that overwhelming point came a little earlier than it had been previously. But you know, the basic playbook was the same.
The third quarter was an absolute disaster for the Lakers, and it really snowballed and overwhelmed them quickly. The Thunder opened 6 of 7 from the field. SGA, after being held to 4 of 14 from the field in the first half, and I thought the Lakers did a very good job in that first half, really making SGA work. A lot of that went to Marcus Smart doing a lot of the ball denial and constant ball pressure and just never allowing SGA any breathing room. But I thought there were several possessions where Rui guarded him very well. There were some possessions where DeAndre Ayton on an island did a good job against SGA. Ayton's second half was rough, but in this first half, there were some moments there, but then SGA started heating up after that start. The Lakers, at one point in the game, as the Thunder had gone from being down 2 at the half to up 10, the Lakers had more turnovers 4 than baskets 3, and it just scored 6 points to that point where the Thunder went from being down 2 to up 10. They just kept making mistakes on both sides of the ball. The irony is that as SGA finally got his rhythm back in the second half, it felt like they didn't even need him to, because AJ Mitchell was carving them up, in particular carving up Austin Reaves. We'll talk about Austin. He had a disastrous game after a nice bounce back in game 2. Austin was bad in this game, man.
Thursday, in a disastrous third quarter. I mean, I don't want to. We don't need to argue about whether he was regular bad, disastrous bad. He wasn't good, and that's what they needed.
I mean, I thought he was.
I thought there were a lot of. I thought there were a lot of positives from what he did in the first half. He didn't shoot well, but he did a lot of things very well in the first half. He had a terrible third quarter, and that buried the Lakers. But I mean, he didn't play. He didn't have a great game, and they needed to. Neither he nor LeBron were good in this. Particularly good in this game overall when you put it all together. And the Lakers aren't going to win if neither one of them is if both of them aren't good. That's just.
But as I was originally saying, like, it felt like SGA didn't even need to get into a rhythm because AJ Mitchell was carving them up. Chet Holmgren had another really good game. Kason Wallace had 11 points in the first quarter, in like the first, I think, 5 minutes to help offset what SGA wasn't able to do. Isaiah Joe kept hitting shots. Alex Caruso would have timely runouts. The team is Isaiah Hartenstein, I want to say, had 6 points like in the first 3 minutes or 4 minutes of the fourth quarter. Like, there are so many things and elements and factors that you have to take into account when you are playing this team on both sides of the ball. And I know they're thought of as SGA, the engine, and this incredible defense. which is true, except it's so much more than that. And as we've talked about, the Lakers' margin for error is non-existent. And obviously, if LeBron and Austin both struggle in a game, it's going to take a hell of a lot else going on positively for the Lakers. And look, Luke Kennard and especially Rui Hachimura did a lot in the first half to get the Lakers that first half lead, despite LeBron and Austin struggles. Luke Kennard hit 3 threes. Rui hit 4. Rui was absolutely spectacular in the first half of this game.
His first 4 threes, yeah.
But you need all hands on deck, present and accounted for, if you want to give yourself a fighting chance against this team. If you give them a sliver of daylight, or in this particular case, a like ozone layer free, massive hole for the light to come through, they're just going to crush you, man. That's what happened.
I mean, we've said it multiple going into the series. They're way better. With the Lakers without Luka, they're better than the Lakers with Luka. I think that is fair to say. But like, they are without Luka. I mean, it's so out of balance in terms of the talent level and the skill level available for these teams. It's like, we spent the first couple of games. It's like Oklahoma City did not play poorly. I'm not saying like they've been, underperforming or this and that, but there wasn't any sense of, wow, they're really looking great. Like, they looked pretty good, like a normal. They played what seemed to me, based on the, semi-large handful of games I've watched them play this year, like those were normal Oklahoma City games. Game 3 felt like, what happens if they play a little better? And, what happens if the shooting's just a little better and the defense, I think they gave DeAndre Ayton fits on the offensive glass, with how the Lakers were trying to defend. It often left opportunities for players to crash from multiple angles, and they were much more aggressive, I thought, on the offensive glass in Game 3, and they were giving Ayton tons of trouble. He had a really tough night, and certainly couldn't get anything going offensively either. Lakers really, Ayton was their only source of scoring in the third quarter, but broadly speaking, it was not a good game for him. They couldn't really figure out what to do with the backup center minutes because Jackson Hayes has struggled against Oklahoma City. So it's like everywhere you turn, it's like they're trying to put a finger in the levee, and it's just holes are popping up everywhere. And it felt to me, Andy, and you can tell, I don't mean this in the sense that they quit. That's not what I mean. The third quarter kind of felt a little to me.
They knew.
Where they broke. Right. They just kind of broke. And they kept trying, and they'll try again on Monday. But one of the admirable things about the Thunder is that they don't rest. They don't rely. Like, teams go up 2-0. They're pretty confident they're going to win a series. Sometimes, you get kind of a lackadaisical game or a little bit of lack of focus. The bench comes in, and sometimes they're just not as good. Like, you get none of that with Oklahoma City. They just, when they're focused and live, they don't stop, and it doesn't stop.
Well, JJ before the game talked about how the depth of the Thunder is just overwhelming. And case in point, Aaron Wiggins was, I want to say, like the 7th or 8th man on this team last year when they won a championship. He's not in the rotation. Kenrich Williams, also not in the rotation. But it's not because Mark Daigneault doesn't trust those guys. It's because he doesn't need to play them, but he's perfectly comfortable putting them on the floor if he needs to. I mean, I don't think he has any fear of putting either one of them out there. It's just that's how deep the team is. And it makes it so on a night where, Luke Kennard scores 18 points, 7 of 10 from the field, hits 4 threes, plus has 2 assists and a steal. You're looking at that going, all right, it's a nice starting point. What the hell else do you got? Because that's not even close to what would cut it. And, if Luka was here, Rui would be coming off the bench, and maybe that could help offset some of this as well. It would certainly make a difference. But then you just start going up and down the waves of this team. Like I mentioned, Kason Wallace had 11 points in the first quarter, finished with 16. Isaiah Joe had 12. Alex Caruso had 6. Like it just keeps going, which again, we're a broken record on this, but it's really true. You just have no margin for error. You have to play at your absolute best to give yourself a chance that isn't realistic in the first place.
Right.
But just to try to keep up.
Yeah. I'm not even sure margin for error is even the right word, the right expression of this. Like it implies you have a certain degree of control over the result. And, it's, to me, that we'll talk some more about this next, and we'll certainly, if we don't get to it in deep detail, we'll get to it much more for Monday's show. Really looking at Austin particularly, because obviously he really is the player that is most under the microscope in this series for the Lakers. But I'll tell you next, like the moment where I was just like, well, this is stupid. Where it's just like you're as the opposing team, the opposing coach, the opposing fans, just like this is kind of unfair. And we'll get to it next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Prize Picks. The regular season's heating up. The NBA playoffs, the regular season is long since wrapped, and the NBA playoffs, we are in the second round. There's no better way to get more out of all the high-flying action than with Prize Picks, a preferred partner of the NBA. Every bucket, every dime, every big performance means more when you're building your lineups on Prize Picks. It's simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if your picks are right, you can cash in. You can choose from all of your favorite sports as well: basketball, baseball, hockey, UFC, soccer. It's available in all 50 states. You can start building lineups around some of your favorite playoff players. Get your Lakers in while you can. Picking more or less on points and assists, and makes every game even more exciting to watch. And features like Flex Play are great because you can still get a payout even if one of your picks misses. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup.
Locked on Lakers also brought to you by DoorDash. Postseason is heating up, and DoorDash has a way to keep fans in their bag all the way through. Whether you're watching highlights, tunnel fits, or your favorite players, DoorDash makes the season more fun because every player has their bag. And with DoorDash, fans have one too. DoorDash helps keep your snacks stocked, your gear fresh, your watch party vibes absolutely on point. Because there are nights when your team's going to stress you out, although this wasn't one of them. I wasn't terribly stressed during this game or this whole series, if we're being honest. Let DoorDash become your post-game therapy. Sometimes you just need dessert now. If the group chat says pull up, DoorDash makes sure that you show up prepared with snacks, cups, even a phone charger for the friend who's always at 2%. So from tip-off to overtime, stay in your bag and order on DoorDash. Get snacks, gear, and drinks, whatever you go through this season, delivered right to your door, DoorDash in your bag all season long.
And finally, Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Indeed. You got workplace chaos. The deadlines are stacking up. The inbox is overflowing. And the one position you have to fill, it's still sitting open. And when the pressure's on, you need the right hire. There's a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Indeed sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: the skills, the experience, the location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I'm going to be talking with you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed. According to Indeed data worldwide, spend less time searching, more time actually interviewing candidates who check all the boxes. So there's less stress, there's less time, there's more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now. Support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a job? Need a hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs.
So yeah, we obviously are certainly aware of some of the individual performances. We mentioned Ayton earlier, but LeBron was 7-19 from the floor. He had 8 assists, but against 3 turnovers. He struggled to kind of get going. Austin was 5 of 13 from the floor. He did make it to the line 8 times. Almost all of this stuff for basically every Laker. All the stuff is front loaded because they didn't score in the second half.
Scored 20 points in the third quarter.
6 of those were from DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah.
6 of his 10. And some of it was, on follows, and most of it was on follows and little oops and stuff like that. Austin, not an efficient night, 17 points on 13 shots. He had 9 assists, but he had 5 turnovers, 4 of which came in that third quarter when the Lakers, it was kind of make or break time, and they broke. Kennard's 18 points were almost entirely front loaded in the first half. So just they could not get anything going in the second half. And we'll talk about some of the individual performances again, if not in this show in detail, certainly for Monday. But like, for me, I mentioned this, like the part of this game where I look at it and go, well, this is just kind of unfair. The Lakers got Lou Dort in foul trouble in the second half, or it's either late in the first or the second half. Like he picks up a third or a fourth foul, and they were talking, is Mark Daigneault going to leave him in? Is he going to take him out? Whatever. And look for a second like they might be keeping Dort in. A different team might need to keep Dort in. Not only did they take Dort out, the guy who replaces him is Cason Wallace. So, like, there's really not even an advantage gained in Lou Dort coming out because the guy replacing him is basically just as good defensively, and at least of late has been a better offensive player. It's like you can't catch a break even when you get these guys kind of in any sense of disadvantage. And like when like all-star Jalen Williams comes back, somebody's going to be sitting on this team that would be like in the regular rotation for the Lakers. And Jared McCain has been lighting up the Lakers. He may not play when Jalen Williams comes back, or other Jalen Williams, or, someone is going to sit down who you're looking at going like, how is that guy in their garbage time lineup? And, the Lakers, JJ Redick went heavier with Adu Thero in this game, and Adu had some nice moments and then some less nice ones, which was what you would expect. He
thought there was more positive than negative with Adu. I actually thought for what you would reasonably expect from Adu Thero, like
from what you would expect, sure, but like
the mistakes are baked into the cake. But did he make enough things happen while he was out there? To me, the answer was yes.
He was active. It reinforces the problem that you have at this time of year where, the mistakes on balance, it's like, oh, you know what, for a guy who played very, very little during the season, even in the G League, because he was hurt half the year. It's not like he had a full G League run, 10 or 15 games to the Lakers and all that, was kind of like, he didn't play very much this season. So he didn't get a lot of seasoning. He did a lot of good things. He certainly was aggressive in his activity. But you see, like, a couple mistakes are very problematic. There were a couple times he needed to shoot and didn't, where just you're playing 4-on-5. One stretch, and this was actually, I think, a mistake from JJ. He had Thero and Kleba out at the same time, which was, now you're playing 3-on-5. It was with Marcus and LeBron and
no,
Reeves,
it was Austin. The opening lineup, this with Maxey, this was LeBron, Austin, Adu, Luke Kennard, and Maxey. I'm going to go out.
Kennard.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say these season-long minutes for those 5 together limited. And I don't think that'd be critical.
It's not even right. It's not even the continuity thing, though. It's the fact that you're playing 3-on-5 offensively with those two guys on the floor.
What I was really getting at, it wasn't to be critical of JJ at all, or the positives or negatives of the line. What they're kind of self-evident. What I was going to say is, you don't put a group like that on the floor that I think likely it's the first time they've ever played together as a group.
I'm not sure they've practiced in that group.
But you don't do that unless you've reached a point where you're saying, I have to try something. I'm looking for specific things. With Maxey, I think specifically it was go set some screens and then try to stay out of the way of everything else. The screens were pretty good. The everything else, not so much.
Not so.
I think it was create some things out of activity. Again, I think he actually on balance made that happen. Jake LaRavia was out of the rotation. Vando was active, didn't play. I'm hoping just for Vando's sake that he's not really there and it was just creating, I don't know, something to think about for Dagnall. Because if I'm Vando and I'm like, I got my hands sewed back and you're not playing me, F off, man. Like, I'd be really mad if I did all of that and expected to play and didn't, considering the man's bone was sticking through his skin not that long ago. I hope JJ and I say this too because the JJ Vando thing really has been awkward for a while. I'd like to think Vando was at least aware you may not play, but I certainly appreciate the effort, because otherwise I'd be like, bruh, really? Your
point about like you're trying to pull any string that you can. And if Vando can't do it, the next most logical person to try to do stuff that you would want Jared Vanderbilt to do, which includes not shoot, is Adu Thero. And I thought it was really interesting when JJ talked after the game. He's like, one of the problems with Oklahoma City is you don't get the normal flow of things is we do something, they do something, you kind of adjust at halftime, you adjust at in between games and the off days and this and that, and that's the ebb and flow. Oklahoma City has so many players that they can adjust. Oh, this is working for the Lakers right now. We'll take that guy out and we'll put that guy in and we'll change the skill set. And now we've just revamped everything that we're able to do. And they have so many different things that they can try over the course of a game. They've got plenty of experience playing together, so that's not like they don't know what those levers are to pull. And as JJ said, they've tried everything. They've played hard. They have, they've executed aspects of the game plan quite well. They've done, it's not like, I have a lot of respect for what the Lakers have done in this series in terms of just the effort that they put out for it. And but as JJ said, we've gotten our ass kicked 3 times. Like there isn't anything they can do. If they go out and play a great game on Monday, when Oklahoma City has an off night, maybe they push the series back to Oklahoma City. But there's not really anything the Lakers can do to change the tide of the series. Obviously they're not going to come back from 0-3. It's never been done in NBA history. This seems like an unlikely moment for it to be the first time. But
not unless the Thunder spot them 3 games. And then
unless Oklahoma City, right, exactly. If Oklahoma City wants the series to end on Monday, it's going to end on Monday.
Yeah.
That's sort of how I feel about it.
What you hope for is just that everybody shows up determined. They are practicing on Sunday. I don't know if maybe they just are daring a bunch of writers to skip out on their significant others on Mother's Day and hoping no one's going to be there. Or maybe I'd like to think they're not doing the exit interviews early because they've pulled those shenanigans on us before. But you hope just in game 4 that everybody shows up with the right determination and the right mindset. And whatever happens. There's going to be a lot of scrutiny for Austin, given the way most of his playoffs have gone. LeBron did not have a good game, but LeBron's playoffs have been pretty strong.
LeBron's played well in the playoffs.
Yeah. It hurt the team. Don't get me wrong. Everybody needs to play at the top of their game. So LeBron not being at his matters. I'm going to give him a pass overall for how he's been in this series.
Yeah. LeBron has done what you would need LeBron to do to win, to get as far as they've gotten.
And I expect, certainly LeBron to have the right mindset in game 4. I think Austin will, although he really needs to stop with the refs. He made his point.
We'll get into it Monday. Yeah.
Made his point after game 2. Game 3, just go play. just play. But everyone just needs to show up with the right mindset and with the right determination, and just the idea of I think they know they're not going to make history. What they needed, but nobody wants to get swept. Nobody wants to be swept. Right. So you go out there with the idea of we're going to avoid a sweep, and then whatever happens from there, happens from there. But we know we avoided the sweep. And that's it. I mean, that's at this case, or at this point, that's the best they can do, because they're not going to win this series, and they know they're not going to win this series. You know, they just were on the other end of how hard it is to come back from down 0-3. Like they just saw how that works.
Yeah. So we'll see.
The gap between Houston and Lakers was smaller than the gap between the Thunder and Lakers.
Oh, significantly. All right, so we'll talk more about the Austin Reaves of it all on Monday. Get you ready for that game.
I believe we may have lost Brian again, but yeah, I'm sure he was going to let you know that we'll be back Sunday to lead up to Game 4. Make sure you're checking out Locked on Lakers on audio, on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts, and we will see you next time.